Welcome, and thank you for joining us in this virtual conversation with Critical Breaks residency artists Zachariah and Dominique. I am Aaron L. McKinney, Executive Director of High Arts. For accessibility, I will provide a visual description. I am a caramel complexioned black male with a high top haircut with blonde tips and faded sides. I have a connecting beard and goatee. I have on a black t-shirt and I am sitting in front of a white wall. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the people and the land that High Arts offices and studio space is situated on. We honor and acknowledge the Munsee, Lenape, and Wappinger people that cultivated this soil that we now call East Harlem, New York. This discussion is being streamed following a festive weekend celebrating both Father's Day and Juneteenth. So I send a happy Father's Day blessing to all of the fathers and celebrating the emancipation of those that were enslaved. As we continue to deal with the COVID-19 crisis and the heightened visibility on the various inequalities in the land that we occupy, it feels good to have a safe space to commune. That's what we are creating at High Arts, a joyous and safe space for artists, staff, and audiences. You can find information about all of our programming and opportunities to engage by visiting our website, www.hi-artsnyc.org, or on social media at HIARTSNYC. There are some things coming up that you don't want to miss. I always have to shout out the wonderful staff of High Arts for the selfless work put in to realize these residencies, and I would also like to thank our ASL interpreters from First Choice Interpreting Service. High Arts heavily depends on support from funders and generous individuals to continue to build this great legacy. We appreciate sharing your time and financial resources with us. Again, visit www.high-artsnyc.org to make a financial contribution if you so choose. Thank you again for joining us. I look forward to seeing you soon, either in person or virtually. Feel free to like, share, and comment as you enjoyed this conversation.
Welcome everyone to High Arts Virtual Talkback. We're so happy to have you here with us this evening to speak with current Critical Breaks artists, Zachariah Ezer and Dominique Rider, about their work, An Unclear World. My name is Joyce Pierce, and I'm the High Arts Program Manager. I'm a brown-skinned Black woman with a white head wrap, gold hoop earrings, a descriptive tee that says, "Live a great story," and a ring that says love, and tinted prescription sunglasses. I'm joined by Zachariah Ezer and Dominique Rider, who will now describe themselves to you as well.
Hi, I'm Zachariah Ezer. I am a light-skinned Black man. I'm wearing jeans, a white shirt with Slavoj Žižek on it, black frame glasses, and I have a short beard.
Hey, I'm Dominique Rider. I'm a light-skinned Black person wearing a black t-shirt with that photo of Adam and Michelangelo touching each other.
Yes.
And thick black sunglasses and a beard.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Zachariah and Dominique, for joining in this conversation about your fantastically layered triptych, An Unclear World. Before we begin, I'd like to read your bio so everybody knows who you are and a description of the work so that people know the greatness who are in this conversation today. So An Unclear World is a triptych in search of the narrative arc of the slave. Each of the three pieces explores a different tenet of Afropessimism, theatrically, using another medium as intertext. Through the Black actors shift from playing, through the Black actors shift from playing heroes to villains to something in between. They all discover what it means to be socially dead and what hidden power that can give them in service of the end of their unclear world. I promise I read this before. Zachariah Ezer is an MFA playwriting candidate at the University of Texas at Austin. He is a James A. Michener Fellow for the class of 2023, a 2021 Echo Theater National Young Playwright in Residence, a 2020 Town Stages Sokov Creative Arts Fellow, a 2018 Bufu Daydream Resident, a 2015 Wesleyan University Olin Fellow, and a member of the Tanks Lit Council, LIT Council. He is also a dramaturg for the National Black Theater, Merd, Fool's Fury, and the Workshop Theater, where he is currently in residence. As an essayist, published by the University of Texas, E3W, Gizmodo, IO9, HuffPost, Bubble Blabber and Elsewhere, and a performer in alternative rock band Harper's Landing. Dominique, woohoo, yes, Dominique is a director based in Brooklyn, New York. They believe in loving like it is the end of the world. I love that. Dominique's work is concerned with answering the question, what is a world unmade by slavery? They have worked as a director, collaborator, and curator at New York Stage and Film, Two River Theater, The New Group, Roundabout, Princeton University, Audible, Brick Lab, NYU, Harlem 9, Ensemble, Studio Theater, the Haiti Cultural Exchange, MCC, the Old Globe, the Lark, Soho Rep, the Atlantic, the Bushwick Star, Club Thumb, Long Wharf, and WP. They are the director in residence for the National Black Theater through 2022 as a 2021 NYSAF resident artist, a 2021 Brick Lab resident artist, a 2019 NAMT directing observer, a co-producer for Classics, and an inaugural member of Roundabout Theater's company directing group. Okay, this is the greatness that we're joining the conversation today. Yes, but you know what? Let the people know. So let's dive right in. First off, so folks watching understand, you just finished workshopping for the day and you've been here since noon with your creative team diving into the work. How are y'all feeling today?
Sorry, that's okay. I mean, spirits are high. We were first day of the second week, so I was doing rewrites over the weekend, and I did not sleep last night because I was writing all night. So a little delirious, but other than that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing great.
Lovely. I don't believe you. I don't believe you, but it's good to know that y'all are in high spirits. For those watching, the public share for An Unclear World is this Wednesday, so definitely check it out, RSVP, and try to be there and to support this work. But let's start at the very beginning. How did y'all's partnership develop, your creative partnership come to be?
Yeah, Dominique and I both did a thing I think a lot of young New York theater artists are interested in doing, is you work in admin for a little bit. And we worked at a theater where Dominique was an intern in one cycle and I was an intern in the next cycle. Actually, I remember my orientation day, I was like, I saw Dominique, I'm like, oh, there's more Black people here. This is gonna be like a good time. And then Dominique, I didn't see them then for like 2 months. But luckily they had sort of like after the internship sort of like temp job with the theater. I went down there once and that was the first time we got to talk and we really hit it off. And it's kind of been a partnership ever since. Yeah.
Is that the whole story, Doc? Unique?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I have a version of the story I tell, which is maybe not true, but it's true to me. Which was the first time we met, Zach's boss was like, Dominique, Zach is a director, the two of you should get to know each other. And at that point, Zach was only writing 10-minute plays, 10 or like 15-minute plays.
The longest thing I had is about 25 minutes.
Yeah, 25 minutes. Yeah. And I asked Zach to send it to me, I read it. And the way I tell the story is that I was like, I'd love to direct this. And Zach was like, why should I let you direct this play? And we hit it off. It was great. And that's where we are now.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I'm very excited to dive a little deeper into your process and to share more about what An Unclear World is with folks watching. So can you share what each of your creative roles are and what the best part about creating together has been thus far?
Yeah, okay. I'm the playwright. I wrote the triptych. And the best part of it for me is really just been being able to be in community with the folks that we're in. I think Dominique, who did cast all the pieces, if I'm not mistaken, really put together a great team for us, and really just like being able to work with them, really see how the piece bounces off of them. They're all incredibly smart people and have all like deeply contributed to the work. And so being able to just sort of like be in the room with them has been everything for me.
Yeah, and as a director, I think the sort of, I mean, maybe not even as a director, but as someone who has worked with Zach for a long time, it has felt really great to be, I think one of the goals was just being able to be in the room and to work on a long form process. We've done a lot of like super short, super quick, super messy stuff together. And so to be able to have like 50 hours of work, of room to work, has been really helpful and useful. And also just to know that the sort of things that we talk about with each other is able to resonate with other people, and that other people are really excited and interested in the work that we do has been really, I think, affirming in a lot of fun ways. And then I think what makes it so rewarding creatively is like I feel like Zach and I, just over the course of our collaborations, have really become sort of a well-oiled machine. And there's nothing quite like getting to see the machine work again, especially Zach lives in Texas right now. So it's been sort of like all the stuff we've done over the last 3 years has mostly been on Zoom. And so to get the chance to be back in the room together and like to really put the oil back on the gears has been like really exciting and rewarding.
Yes. It's wonderful seeing y'all every single day doing what you do. And you mentioned that, you know, this is an opportunity to actually see the thing and get to share things with people. I know Afropessimism is one of those things, and it's deeply woven into An Unclear World. Can you share what's drawn you both to Afropessimism as a philosophy, and how An Unclear World is influenced and inspired by Afropessimism as a philosophy?
Great question, Joyce.
Yeah, I think for me is that like I've been pretty into sort of like leftist politics for most of my life. A lot of my family are sort of like old lefties, and they kind of raised me up that way. And so, but for me, that I'm on the side of the family that is sort of like very involved in like far left politics. They are like white people, and so as a result, there's always like definitely been a piece missing. There's been a big thing that just sort of has been like always unexplained, doesn't work, doesn't jive with the whole thing. And so Afropessimism for me was the thing that was able to take me sort of like past leftist politics into what I think is sort of a more holistic understanding of like how I view the world and how I think that it is. And so being able to sort of engage that pessimism does that for me. And then what I hope to do with my plays is sort of be able to like share that with more people. I think that like Afropessimism is an understanding of a certain ordering of the world, and being able to sort of like write plays that are built with that understanding already, I think really gets a lot of like conversations both inside people's own heads and with each other, and hopefully with us going.
Yeah, for me, I think the thing that really got me thinking about Afropessimism was going to a PWI and spending, I grew up in a primarily Black neighborhood, went to primarily Black high school, didn't really know what white people specifically were, had an understanding of non-Black people of color, but white people were really sort of distant from me. And then entering into college, it was like, there's this sort of nagging thing that I feel like I'm contending with in the back of my head, this sort of like real sort of sense of being out of place, and being out of place and also weirdly out of time all the time. And the place Zach and I met, the theater we met at, it was that feeling, but like really intensified. I always got the sense that I was outside of the sphere of what people understood and what they were willing to understand. And so once I really started reading more AP work, it was like, oh, this is the feeling. This is the thing that I've been trying to name for myself. This is the feeling that I've been finding so frustrating to deal with for like the past 7 years. Here it is. What do I do with it? I think for me, it's about understanding how to read plays through the lens of Afropessimism in a director, right? And really sort of refusing sometimes the impulses maybe that a writer has to really explore what it means to tell stories about Black people. And I think specifically to tell stories about Black people when you believe that slavery is not over, and just what that does to narrative frames, how it engages with narrative frames, and what it does to narrative frames. I think it's been like the sort of biggest impact of me as a director.
Yeah, no, you talked about, you know, seeing what people understand and how people understand, and reading through an Afro-pessimistic lens, right? I think you're also offering the people who are going to enjoy An Unclear World the opportunity to do that with historical figures that you have in your work. So reading history through an Afro-pessimistic lens. And there are a number of pivotal historical figures, some that have been like mythologized, that are given breath and put together in conversation and very fantastical, precarious situations in An Unclear World. What has the process of character development been like for you in that way?
I think that, yeah, it's a great question. I think that like Afropessimism has a thing kind of built into it that one of the co-founder, Frank Wilderson, talks about a concept called like hijacking, which is essentially like reading something kind of against itself. which is that like because a lot of things maybe aren't accounting for Afropessimism or maybe actively like not trying not to think about it, most things maybe have a piece of that of Afropessimism already in there, and it's up to sort of someone puts on the Afropessimist lens to sort of excavate it. I think that's kind of how I like to look at like pieces of history. I like to look at like myths and legends. I like to look at like historical figures, both in like the like far distant past, sometimes even thousands of years old, and some that are only from like a couple of generations ago, and being like, if these people had the words for Afropessimism, how would they express it? And I think that that's what I'm trying to get at with some of the figures. I mean, I'll drop in part one. The main character is Sojourner Truth.
Yes.
I like imagine her in a moment where she is facing a crisis of conscience that is incredibly race based and sort of making a fantastical depiction of what that journey might have been like for her.
Yeah, I don't want to give anything away either, but it was amazing. I was like, wait, what? Like my mind was blown. So definitely, y'all, please tap into and support this work because it really just goes there and it's amazing. Also, there's a number or a plethora of historical references in An Unclear World. How does symbolism play a part in your storytelling as well? Because I imagine not only the figures themselves, but also kind of what they represent within our culture is important.
Yeah, I think that like I'm very interested in like what I think an audience's expectation is and being able to sort of like use that to my advantage. I think that there's a lot of great I think some of my because the Unclear World uses so much sort of intertext with things like television, film, comic books, and video games. I think I'm able to pull from a larger sort of pool of influences than I usually do for theater. And so probably my two biggest sort of storytelling, structural influences are there's a creator who makes television named Dan Harmon, and I think he's very good at sort of sketching the skeletons of plots quickly and efficiently, and that he knows what you know, right? Our first part of our triptych is a quest story, and everyone's seen a quest story, right? I don't need to explain to you what a quest is, so I can quick shorthand a bunch of that stuff, and being able to do that in shorter work allows me to sort of you feel taken care of in a scaffolding way, and then I can fill the rest of it with whatever I want. And the things I usually fill it with are I love a deep cut reference. I love really going deep on a thing that you either somebody knows about, but you don't know this about it, or nobody knows what the fuck this is.
Yes.
I don't know if I swear on this, but I just did. And I will ask myself and a question that I really want to be asked because I want to answer it very quickly, which is that my favorite little reference that is 100% for me, and I don't know if anybody else gets it or cares, but it matters to me a lot. Our first one is I describe our first part of the triptych as what if Sojourner Truth is in a Superman comic, and it also crosses over with biblical myth.
Yeah.
And got to the way that they name the aliens on Krypton is two letters, 2 or 3 letters, and then a dash and 2 or 3 letters, and they're just a biblical name that works perfectly with if you just put a hyphen in there, and then Superman's Krypton. I'm gonna get really nerdy here. Superman's Kryptonian name is Kal-El, which is and then there's a character in the Bible whose name is just Nile, and I have to stylize it in the Krypton writing style, and that makes me incredibly happy. Will anyone get it? Especially if you're just hearing it, maybe not. But I feel that's for my own pleasure, definitely why I write.
No, people definitely will. Trust me, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. You're not alone. So there's going to be people who are looking for the pieces and the nuggets and everything. But let's go deeper into the nerd out bag, actually, because there's a lot of time travel in your work. Let's talk about the relationship between time travel and Black history that you hold space for, in a major way, which is so dope. Is time travel a plot device? Why time travel? Are y'all cooking up your own Unclear World time travel paradox? What's going on here?
Yeah. I like using things that people already know. I like using vampires and werewolves and ghosts and time travel because for the sketching reason that I said, people know what it is and they know what to do about it. And I have one day I'll write it, but I've been working on a thing for many years, which is that I'd would be it's going to be called like the only nigga at the United States Department of Time Travel, which is that like it's just about like a desk jockey who can't go back in time because like if you're a Black person, why the fuck would you want to go back in time?
Yeah.
It's very like dark and weird, and so I think that like time travel is like a fraught thing for Black people, but I think that the way that I like to engage with it when Black people time travel to the past, it is in the context of a Blaxploitation movie, which so is always going to be like in a certain way have a certain level of empowerment and non-threat, so that I'm not like actually like I have no interest in like doing sort of torture porn of Black people. I think that like the like sort of inescapability of slavery is torture enough, and so I think that like the most interesting thing for me is to like have Black people engage with like tropes of fantasy and sci-fi as sort of powerful devices, and their enemy, like in Blaxploitation movies, is anti-Blackness, and in our case specifically, the ontological nature of slavery.
So if each of you could shape a paradox, what would it be?
I like because you know I like a multiversal theory, right? Like is the, I'm a big like, you know, you can't make a decision and then make the opposite decision in the same universe. So I would love to be able to like do the decision and then get to go back and then decide which one I wanted. Like
yes,
like
options.
Universal bifurcation and then pick the one that I want. Yeah, that would be my own temporal thing.
I would rather not see the choices, but just see the effects. Right? Like I just want to be able to peek into like all the universes where things.
Okay, so you're still here, but you go and you're like, what if I had done this?
Right. And I just get to see.
That's
like,
cool.
that's crazy. And then just come back.
Wow, glad to get on that train.
Yeah. Yes, like we all would appreciate that one. Actually, that's dope, girl. Let's talk about process. Let's dive into your process for this residency. This is the first time you've assembled all three movements of the triptych together. So yes, woo. What has that process been like thus far, like in the room? And what has it revealed about the work to you?
I think the biggest thing is that it reveals that it works, which was like
we weren't sure.
Yeah, we weren't sure whether this shit was gonna work or not. And I think the sort of first day hearing it out loud with our wonderful cast and then with our dramaturg Nisiaya, it was like very clear that things work together, and that was really exciting. And then like I think the next sort of big question was like, okay, they work, but how do they work, right? And what the sort of relationship is, which is why Zach was up all last night, like figuring out how to really lock each of the pieces, lock the three movements into each other to make a sort of cohesive narrative journey that we're on. And I think it's been really fun too to talk about that in relation to performance. Each performer, there are 4 performers in the show, each one, with the exception of our white actor, plays 3 tracks. And so you're spending a lot of, and then the Black woman in the show is playing 3 tracks, but her third track like diverges out into 3 other characters. And so it's been fun to watch the company really get to experiment and play around with the differences between each character, right? Like you're going from A to B to C. How do these things accumulate over time? What are the different choices you get to making in B that you maybe didn't make in A? And how does that ultimately lead you into C? And how do you maybe think of it really as a building block to get you where you need to go performance-wise? And I think being able to talk about it in terms of performance has been really exciting and really fun. And again, our company is like fantastic. And so it's been so many great choices maybe that we weren't even thinking of that we've been able to see in like real time, which has been great. Absolutely.
For those watching who aren't familiar with like what dramaturgy is, could you just give like a description of what it means for y'all and your process right now and how it's been so pivotal?
Yeah, I think dramaturgy is like, okay, so Zach says that Zach wants to go to Kansas. And Zach somehow ends up in Atlanta. And it's like, going to Atlanta is fine, but you said you wanted to go to Kansas. And so the dramaturg is the person who is helping you with the map of like, right, we're in Atlanta. Atlanta's cool, but like, remember when you said you want to go to Kansas though? And I think for us specifically, working with Nisi has been a lot about world building and how the sort of worlds of the 3 pieces come together in ways that feel really good and fruitful, and what the small things are inside of each of movements that make things tick and make them work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, it is you tell the dramaturg, you promise the dramaturg that you're going to do something, and then they're the person who, after you're like off doing something else, they're like, hey, remember when you said you wanted to do this? And they keep us, me at least, they keep me honest in that way. And it helps in world building, as Dominique said, but also in sort of a philosophical rigor. Nisi is really sort of like, is not a native to Afropessimism, but has very much adopted it into herself, at least for our process. And I really appreciate being able to, talk to somebody about that as well, which is that Dominique and I talk about it all the time. But I think, as they said before, right, are we just speaking our own language that nobody else understands? It is that, like, it is nice to see someone sort of pick it up from scratch and be like, no, I see what you're saying, and being able to sort of like agree, but also challenge us about it.
It makes it real. You converted Nisi. Shout out to Nisi.
We'll see. I hope so. Yeah. I hope so.
Well, this is my last question for y'all. You're both brilliant. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. But I would love to know what you would like folks to walk away from eventually in the future after development, after watching An Unclear World. Like, what sentiment would you want them to carry with them after experiencing the work?
It's a great question.
I think that if I could I would want to expand people's understanding of what slavery is in its relationship to the world. Slavery is not just the image that we have in our minds that is conjured when we say the word. It is an ordering. It is a system. It is a choice that the world has made. And if we understand that, we can get over maybe our internalized like chafing against the figure of it, and then use what we know we have once we've done that to do the ultimate goal of Afropessimism, which is end the world. That's the thing we all have to do together. Can't do by myself much as I want to. So I'm hoping that people take away a revolutionary desire to end the world in the way that we are riffing on, explaining, talking about with them.
And I think for me, it would really be the understanding that slavery has yet to end. I think this thing happens when we talk about slavery in relationship to, like, say, colonialism, right? Where colonialism, imperialism get to be ongoing things that are still happening, ongoing events that we are still living inside of. But slavery, because people think of it as an event and not an event horizon, gets to just be this thing in the past, right? As opposed to this thing that is continuing to shape the very possibility of, like, Black folks' reality and what that means, right? Saidiya Hartman calls slavery that which makes possibility possible. It is the grounds of possibility for the poor subject, for the bourgeoisie subject, for everyone who is not Black. It represents a chance, while for us it represents a kind of degradation. And I would love people to understand that it's not over, that we are still living with it, and we are still consumed by it, because it is the world we live in. It is the fabric of the world we live in.
And on that note of y'all opening people's eyes to reality, I would love to say thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you residents thus far. I'm looking forward to your public share. Where can the people find you, and how can they continue to support your work?
You can find me on, the website is dominiquerider.com. And that's about it.
I have a weird name, so I've gotten my name pretty much wherever I want it. At Zachariah Ezer on Twitter, it's Zach.Ezer on Instagram. I never post on Instagram, actually don't do that. And I got zachezer.com, so we're out here.
Yes. Okay, y'all, you know where to find them. You can learn more about High Arts at www.high-artsnyc.org, and you'll hear more from us as our residencies continue. It's been a pleasure. Have a good night, everyone.
Us too. Thanks, Joyce. Thanks, everybody.